Alright guys, welcome back to part 2. Unfortunately the last video cut out on me when I got to the co-main event, so we'll go over the co-main and the main again, and we'll be good to go. So co-main, we got Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber here. So with Macy Barber, she's an up-and-comer. She was 8-0, and then she lost her last one to Roxanne Modafferi when she tore her ACL in that fight. So she's coming back off of that ACL repair and rehab. And, she's fairly young. She's 23 years old, and I think she's somebody the UFC is really trying to build here. But at the same time, she's going up against Alexa Grasso, who is 28. She's the more experienced fighter. She's fought the more high-level competition. She's 12-3 overall. And, the story of this fight to me is Macy Barber's got the power. She's got the strength advantage. But she can throw, she can get a little bit loose with her combinations. She can just kind of wing shots, and it's not very technical at times. Whereas on the flip side, I think Alexa Grasso is a very technical striker, and she's shown improvement fight after fight. And she looked really good in her last few fights. I do give Grasso the edge on volume, and I give her the edge on technicality. And I think that Macy's path to victory really is to get in the clinch and get this one to the ground. Grasso's not terrible in her takedown defense or get up game, but she's not great either. And I think that Macy's strength could help her keep the fight there and do damage and win the rounds for her. But man, this is such a close fight numbers wise. Everything across the board, strikes, striking accuracy, defense, takedowns, everything is pretty similar between these two girls. And I just feel like that the experience for Alexa Grasso is going to give her the edge in this one. And I'm going to go with Alexa Grasso to win this by decision. I just think that technically she's a much better fighter. And if this stays on the feet for most of the time, which I think it will, I think that she's just going to piece Macy Barber up, to be honest, and just win a pretty clear 30-27 or maybe 29-28 decision. But yeah, give me Alexa Grasso on this one. I think it's a little too much too soon for Macy Barber, especially coming off that ACL repair. So I'm gonna have to take Grasso on this one. All right, now onto the main event. We got Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. And man, this is an interesting one. So for me, Kamaru Usman is the guy that everybody loves to hate, and quite frankly, I don't like the guy too much. I think he's, pretty full of himself, and he kind of reminds me of like a high school, douchebag kind of, where he thinks he's the shit, right? And he's just, untouchable, and he's really cocky, and he shows it, and it's just. He's a kind of a boring guy. He's just not a likable guy, But aside from all that, he is a phenomenal fighter, and while his fight style might be boring at times, it's very effective. And Kamaru Usman's the man. I think he's the best 175 or 170 pounder on the planet. I think Colby Covington is probably the number 2 on the planet, and Gilbert falls somewhere below them. I really do think there's a pretty large gap between Kamaru and Colby from the rest of the welterweight division. But man, I don't know that Burns is going to be able to do this, guys. He's got a great submission game, probably the best submission game Usman's gone against. He has good power. We've seen him knock guys out. He's got decent strike. He's got pretty good grappling. But the thing that, with Kamaru Usman is this guy's going to control you the entire fight. And if you can't get out of that, if you're not the stronger man, if you're not the bigger guy, if you can't, fight off those takedowns, it doesn't matter how good a submission game you got. Really, I mean, Kamaru's experienced enough to fight off, pretty much any submission that Gilbert can throw at him, unless he catches him on a fluke submission, like something crazy like an armbar from guard. Or, I really don't think Kamaru's going to tap to an armbar, though. It would have to be a choke or something that puts him out. But I really don't see Gilbert, sinking in a choke to the point where it's going to get Usman out of there. I just don't see that happening because, he'd have to really Kamaru would have to put himself in a really compromising position, outside of a guillotine. But Kamaru's smart enough on his takedowns. He's not going to put his head in a position where he's going to get guillotined, and he knows how to get out of it. The guy's 17-1. He only has one loss, and that loss was, kind of a fluky loss. But 17-1. Gilbert's 19-3 in his own right. But this is one I think Kamaru Usman wins all day. He's going to grind him out for 5 rounds. And he's going to probably win a boring decision. But, I think if there is a finish in this fight, it probably does come from Burns. I think that's his path to victory, is either to get a knockout or a submission. But I just don't see it. And I think that Kamaru is going to dominate him for 5 rounds. And I'm pretty confident with that. I don't really think anybody can compete with Kamaru in the welterweight division. He already fought Colby, who I think is the second best, and he was able to put on quite the striking display against Colby Covington. And that's another thing about Kamaru Usman, is that he really has an underrated striking game. People underestimate him, but he looked really good against Colby, and he even looked pretty decent against Masvidal, even though he did control Masvidal and it made it a boring fight. But with Colby, he stood and struck with him for 25 minutes, and he was able to get him out of there, albeit kind of cheap and at the very end of the fight. But he got him out of there, man. He struck with him, and he was winning that fight. So, good on Kamaru, man. I think he really is the best in the world at 170 pounds, and he's gonna come in here and show everybody why he is again. Not to mention, he looks shredded at the weigh-ins today. Like, this man is ready. He's here. He's not playing any games. He's gonna get it done. So I'm going with Usman. Probably a pretty popular pick this week, but man, I'm pretty confident in that. I don't think Usman drops this one. He's a true champ. As much as everybody hates, loves to hate him, he's a true champion. He's going to get it done, I think. So, yeah, give me Usman in this one. And that'll wrap up the picks for this card, guys. Thank you for tuning in. And hopefully we'll be back next week with more predictions. Also, check out the Patreon again if you want to look at my exact bets. But, yeah, for now, this is going to be it, guys. So, thanks for watching. Peace out. Good luck this weekend, guys.